Hi, my name is Harrison Pate. Today I'm going to be picking a specific type of business and putting it in a specific location. I've chosen to do private at-home care, specifically for elderly people, located in Singapore. As many know, the private elderly at-home care has grown drastically over the last few years. Singapore actually happens to be the second most business-friendly economy in the entire world, which is a great plus when thinking about where to locate a certain business. It's a very rich country with an expensive service we'd be offering. Many whom can't afford decide to go into nursing homes or some other type of long-term care facilities. The market demand will increase for private at-home care service because of their higher income levels, and their average age is rising drastically over the years, which creates an opportunity for a business like ours. Singapore's population is aging very quickly. Almost 20% of the population is above 65 years old, which would be where we'd be starting to target our market there. The idea of the business would be allowing your loved one to stay at home rather than being admitted into a nursing home, because just the feeling of being at home is just a great value to a person. And it's actually a very fast-growing business throughout the world. So some basic economic data to talk about. Their GDP, $397 billion US dollars. It had a 11.76% increase from 2020 to 2021. That was the last data taken, which is obviously a huge increase. Their average income per capita, $72,794, and that's per person, not per household. So that's actually very high, which creates a great opportunity for us as well. The inflation is very high as well at 6.744%. Ours usually averages in the US anywhere from 2 to 3%. So it's a double plus some. The labor force in Singapore is 3.49 million people, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but it is a very small geographical area. The international exchange rate policy is the MAS exchange rate policy, and really what that is the central bank conducts monetary policy by setting a desired level for a short-term interest rate, which maps to the final target or targets of monetary policy. So some government policies and enforcement in Singapore. Singapore has a free market economy, which is very pro-business, and it has a great reputation among its people. It's very attractive for investors as well. And it's a very stable political environment, which is great as well. In 2021, it was ranked as the third least corrupt country in the Transparency International Corruption Perceptions Index, which obviously we know that there's a lot of corruption that can go on overseas in some of these countries, and that's great that it's not going on in this one. That was not one of the main reasons, but that's one of the many reasons that we chose to go to Singapore. The economic policies are coherent, and Singapore is one of the strongest economies in the entire world. Most people in their country, upwards of 90%, are in favor of their police force and believe they have a pro-business mindset. Any banking issues in the country, so some of these would include, they've had some phishing issues in their digital banking, which many countries have seen. We've seen that in the US. We've seen that at schools. Phishing is a very common thing now with the way technology is increasing across the world, and it becomes an issue that security needs to solve over time. What way do the laws help or hurt the business? So the minimum wage is a lot more expensive there, just because the cost of living there is much more, but it's actually almost 4 times the minimum wage of the US. So we would definitely have to pay workers a lot more over there, which wouldn't necessarily be great for business, but we would also be bringing in a lot more money. So some of the strengths that come with this business. It's a growing business field. The at-home private care is something that has really taken off over the last 10 years. And it's located in an area, Singapore, which they can afford to pay these rates. The industry grew at 9.1% for the last few years on average, which is very impressive, and that shows upside for sure. So the average age, as we mentioned earlier, actively increasing, which gives this great business opportunity. Demand for our service is constantly driving up, which makes us more needed and gives us more opportunity to thrive there. Business can charge about double the rate they are paying the caregivers to the clients, so about 50% profit, but it ends up being about 33% profit because of workers' comp and all the other fees that come along with paying caregivers or just employees in general. And it's a very referral-based business, which can be great for us over time, but not necessarily initially. It's very tough to show up in a country to where you don't really have a brand presence and be constantly getting referrals. People often trust their loved ones with these people and these businesses, so they think very carefully about who they choose, and you have to have that reputation to back it up. Some weaknesses. There's definitely already an established business and market in Singapore for these services. You can look it up at Safari and find many different 5-star businesses. So you definitely have to find a way to set yourself apart from these businesses. Like I was saying earlier, without contacts or a noticeable brand, it can be very hard to gain clients at first. Very referral-based business. Most people actually I kind of talked about that. It can be very tough in this business to recruit caregivers as well, because there's many certifications and some require you to be a CNA and trainings yearly, annually that you have to go to, and some people don't quite find this rewarding enough, the pay that they're receiving, because it's really not too much above minimum wage. And also, oftentimes these are family-owned businesses with many connections in the area, as I was saying earlier. So my parents actually used to run an elder home care business, and it was very referral-based. And even when they sold the business, they were constantly getting calls from people asking if they could take care of their family members because they trusted them and believed that their hearts were in the right place, and that's really where it is in this business. So some opportunities. Like I said, it's a huge, rich country with aging people, population of 5.45 million people. And in this business, you rely on the elderly needing your services, but it comes at a pricey cost, which hence why you'd rather be located in a more prestigious, high-income area that is willing to pay these prices. And it's a great economy, very quick growing field for the private elderly, like I was saying. The business-friendly features of this economy also make it much easier for these type of companies and businesses as a whole. So that's definitely a plus, or an opportunity, I guess. Very expensive private care that many will pay out of their pockets or through various forms of long-term care and insurances. So most people would think that only the wealthy can afford the private care and these opportunities, but actually a lot of long-term insurances and long-term care help fund this in a way to make it more affordable for many more people. So that definitely expands our market, or I guess target market. And the presence of competition shows there is a lot of business and potential opportunity for us there. So some threats. Other competitors have known brand names and a huge referral base to continuously find new business, which in a field like this, constantly your clients are passing away, sadly, but that essentially gives you a need to find more. So you're always recruiting and you're always trying to find more and more clients to widen your client base and overall widen your business. Competitors may have a better feel of the culture over there and how to run businesses in Singapore more efficiently at first, which could be a little tough for a business coming about there. And also there is a language barrier. There's 2 languages mainly spoken there. One is Malay, which is the official language of Singapore, and the other is Mandarin, basically a form of Chinese, and 50% of the culture speaks Mandarin, which is crazy because it's not even the official language. So that shows you there's how many different people don't speak English over there or languages that I would understand. And communication is the key to success in many different fields of work, and these language and culture barriers could be very significant setbacks in starting a successful relationship-based business. That's definitely something to think about over there. So the high inflation rates in Singapore, much higher than the US, could make exchange rates unfair and cause minor losses in money, which result to bigger losses over time. Due to our inflation rate being 3 times less, it could be difficult to value or figure out the exchange rate. Let's see. And overall, my business location idea would be, I'm kind of reiterating a little bit here, would be in the elderly private at-home care business located in Singapore. The business would have to initially have some bilingual business executives, specifically someone that has worked in the field before, has a good experience in the at-home elderly care field in Singapore. The business must have a strong brand and reputation over a good period of time in order to keep those referrals coming. As they grow, they will be able to hire more and more caregivers and be able to pay them better wages as we expand, which can really help you retain the good caregivers and recruit a higher level caregiver that maybe you couldn't be able to get before, which is another plus for sure when dealing with families that are very invested in these people. And Singapore gives a great opportunity for this field because of their growing populations, which also has an average age that is rapidly increasing. This business field has been growing as well, as I said in the past, making the demand increase and leading to a needed increase in supply, which these companies, including us, could provide. There really aren't barriers for entry because it's a service with no real expensive initial investments. Really, honestly, this business, as we've seen lately, this business could be ran remote and maybe have a small office just for paperwork and for things to be able to be sent somewhere, or a P.O. box, but really you don't even need a home base anymore. And after recruiting caregivers to work for you and clients to provide services to, the day-to-day becomes much more simple and really only includes scheduling, which is a major constant problem in this business because many people don't want to work often. Recruiting, like I said before, constantly bringing in more and more clients. Payroll to pay all of your caregivers because obviously everybody wants to get paid. And then just management. Keep the business growing and thriving. This type of service is an oligopoly. Prices can decrease or increase, and business competitors will follow basically the increase or decrease in price because they have to stay competitive. It's also a rather elastic service. The demand doesn't really change when there is a change in price. Say if you have a decrease in meat, many people would all go to the store and buy up the meat because the demand would increase so much more because it's a very inelastic product. We are the opposite of that, so it's really more of a need base, and people, if they have the money, they pay it, and if they don't, they don't. In summary,